Everybody, this is Vicki Davis. I've got the producer John behind the scenes. This is the pre-show. We're trying to make sure we're bringing up all our streams. We're going to do the Cool Cat Teacher deep dive at 5. I'm getting ready to go into projects and how those work and that sort of thing. And while we're on the pre-show, John, I guess you'll tell us when everything is live, right? You'll tell us that. We'll close it. So we're getting ready to go live with Cool Cat Teacher live at 5. But for the pre-show, I'm just gonna talk about some current news that is going on right now, just in my space, my edtech space, and that sort of thing. So I'm gonna share my screen, John, as we get ready, and just make sure you tell me when it's 5 because we're gonna start the demo right at 5. Now you can comment and this is our first time, so we're trying this out and seeing what we think. And I'm going to share just a little bit about what's going on right now and some news you may or may not have heard about. So right now, everybody's talking about the John, and you might want to. Well, I guess we can move the pre-show there. Um, but where everybody's talking about Nano Banana, the image editing in Gemini. So this was released on a forum. Couple weeks ago, and everybody kept talking about how great it was. And so what you can do is it colorizes photos really, really well. And it does a lot of really cool things. So the Nano Banana, if you haven't played with it at Gemini, upload an old photo, ask it to colorize it. And what happens now with a lot of AI tools is if you say like change the color shirt or change the background, it really goes crazy and makes a mess. So this one is really good at preserving everything that's in there and then just changing the color. So again, it might make some really good presents coming up for the holiday season. Um, Anthropic did settle a really big case of two libraries, pirated libraries of books that they downloaded. And it was the kind of thing that could have closed up their company. And Anthropic does Claude. So anyway, that is kind of big news. There's lots of other big news, but our goal is that we're going to start right at 5. So I'm going to stop sharing and get ready to load up projects and get ready to go with that. So, John, how are we sounding? How are we looking? The speaker split screen, you mean? We'll do that when we go back into sharing. Are you able to share the text? Get rid of the pre show text? Okay, because we're about to go live. And then I think you have some text that says live that we're going to put up. So everybody, we're getting ready to go live, Cool Cat Teacher live at 5 deep dive. John, my producer, has been after me for a while to test this. John, I still see the pre-show text on the screen. There we go. So thanks for coming. We are streaming to all the major platforms. This is kind of a learning experience for me and John. We've been asked if we could do some live streaming, and we're like, hey, we're going to try that out. So today I'm going to, in the pre show, I've been sharing kind of like the news that I've been reading. And then today I'm going to take you in and talk about projects and why we would use them and what we would use them for and that sort of thing. So we're going to go straight over into my Chat GPT. I do use the Chat GPT $20 a month. And hey, John, if there are any chats, I'm just going to let you tell us. There's a live stream chat. I don't think it comes through for Twitter or for LinkedIn. It might, I'm not sure. So here we go. I'm going to share this. Other folks, I do think it goes through. And okay. So you can see, of course, it's the ChatGPT 5 model. It kind of decides what it's going to do. Instant is the instant answers. Thinking as the bigger answers. I do try to use the thinking model. So if you see, these are custom GPTs. Okay. So the best custom GPT on the planet for tech support is this lovely little tech support advisor. I teach it to all my teachers and that sort of thing. It gives great step-by-step 1, 2, 3 instructions. So all of these are basically kind of like single task and trained for things. I have made a GPT for my AP Computer Science students that's trained with a lot of the stuff that I'm going to be demonstrating today for a project. But you can look and see that I have a lot of different projects down here. Now, projects are when you need a group of data about a particular source and you want to do specific tasks with that data. So I'm going to click new project. And again, we're going to do this in ChatGPT. We're going to do this in Claude. And then we're going to go in Google Notebook LM. So you're going to get kind of my three favorite places to build projects. And I'm going to call this AP Computer Science Principles. And it keeps everything together for that particular topic. So I'm going to click Create Project. Now, you can see that you can add files and you can add instructions. Now, I have a lot of files that I have put together for this, and I have no idea if it's going to update all of them. I've been wanting to do this for a while, and we will see if it will let us add all these files. It just kind of spins when you do that. And I do upload all of this particular content that I have. Now, once it uploads, you can see it kind of turns from the little dial there to the individual. So I'm going to hit add files and I'm going to add some more here in a minute, but let me close that. So you can see all these files are here and you can actually add a lot more files than here. And the one that can add the most is Google Notebook LM. I think they're well up over 100 now. Maybe some of you in the chat who use it a lot could add that, but I'm adding all these files. You can say, okay, Vicki, why are you adding these files? Well, one big reason I do something a lot called formative assessment. So there's two kinds of assessment for those of you who aren't educators. Summative assessment is that old test you're used to, the quiz you're used to, like at the end of a unit, end of a chapter, end of a couple pages. Formative assessment is like you test as knowledge is forming. Okay, I just taught if then conditional statements today. Did students really get that? Now, it does have a place for instructions, but I'm going to teach you the best way I think to do instructions. I'm going to go back here to new chat, and there's a principle called prompt stacking. And that's where you go and you stack prompts. Now, the thing about this particular course is at ISTE this summer, I gave a presentation about how I like to present and teach this course. Okay. So here's what I've done in the prompt. I say, I want to make a project to help me with the resources, lesson plans, and other information as I teach my AP Computer Science Principles course. And I need to work on the instructions to make this project. Okay. And then I've given it the name of some important files. So I'm going to go ahead and load this particular thing about how I presented, about how I like to teach this class. And then I'm going to load the stuff from College Board. It's like a 250-page thing. And I'm also going to load the lesson plan template. So these are the things it's really going to access a lot that are like how to do things. So all of the how to do's, I'm loading in here to create instructions for my project. I used to just write the instructions myself, but I have found that doing this prompt stacking and letting ChatGPT help me draft the instructions is better. So the tricks are you use the exact names of the files and you define what they are. And then I've said, I want you to take your time. Now, the reason I say I want you to take your time is that will automatically make it go with a thinking model. I know I picked it up at the top left corner earlier, but it will make it go and pull that thinking model. And then I've said, I want you to go through the turbo talk about how I teach the course and help me draft instructions on a project here in ChatGPT to help me with updating lesson plans, creating materials, and responding to formative assessments. I like project based learning, hands on learning, and also making sure I respond to formative assessments. Ask me questions so we can create instructions for the project here in ChatGPT. In a way that aligns with teaching best practices. Now, I will say I have a 100% pass rate for my AP course that I've been teaching. So I do feel like that turbo talk is pretty good. And so now it's going to try to ask me questions about this. Now, the nice thing about instructions is I can always go in and get them updated later. So after we create this project, and I am going to have to put on my read glasses. And John, let me know if we have any questions in the chat. I'm not really able to see those right now. If we have any questions, then just kind of stop me and ping me, and we'll do that. Okay, so it's just giving me the compliment that I wish it just wouldn't. Okay, so it's like full lesson plans. I'm going to say I want to prompt it based on what I'm needing. But yes, when I have it do lesson plan revision, I want the full lesson plan that I can paste in. Now, you're going to see in a minute that I'm actually going to prompt it with my lesson for the next day based on what I finished or didn't finish. So, this is one of the hardest things that we do. We've already planned out, like, I've got my whole year planned. And so that's a difficult thing to do. So, I've got the tools I use. Yes, you can suggest formative assessments, but I will be doing them and saying what standards we're missing. I do want the project to pull out the standard numbers for me and keep them front and center. And the output style, output may be a lesson plan, it may be ideas, but ask me questions until I am happy that, and then we determine the output. Sometimes it will help me with slide ideas and questions. Okay, so I'm obviously going to come back to this, but I want to do this quick demo. So it says flexible teaching partner. I don't let AI call a partner. I have a real problem with using the word partner because that means that we're equal and we're not. AI wouldn't even be doing anything if I wasn't here asking it to. So these are my draft instructions, and I am going to copy these instructions. Yes, I actually do read pretty fast. So it's got all the information, ask before answering, standards first, and iteration. Okay. And here we go. I'm going to copy this, and now I'm going to go back to my AP course and paste in my instructions. Okay. And one thing I will say is that it doesn't save your past instructions. So, what I typically do if I'm going to replace these instructions, I'll typically have a Google Doc with different tabs and different sets of instructions. So that way, if I mess up my project and it stops giving me output that I like, then I can go back and copy the previous instructions in. So now, okay, what am I going to do with this? So I've already put in all my training documents. Now I have a prompt document and it's for the Wednesday I come back. So I'm going to put this document in and I'm going to say, this is the lesson plan for September 3rd. I need to review conditionals and make sure they understand that equal is for equals. Sorry for this nerdiness, but equals in comparisons and that equal is for variables. They did not understand that today. Okay. Didn't understand it today. So I need updates to this to review at the beginning and suggestions for slides. Okay, let's see what it's going to give me. I've never done this live stuff. So those of you who are joining now, this is the Cool Cat Teacher Deep Dive at 5 that we thought we would do and try it out. And I'm training a project. Now, a lot of people could say, Vicki, why do you want to train a project? Well, the big reason is the longer you have a chat, the more it can quote go off the rails. So just having one chat and just making it really, really long, it can really get kind of off a bit. Now, one tip is that if you start seeing a lot of common chats, go to the end of that chat and say, guide me in creating a project that will do the kinds of things we're doing in this chat. So once you realize, okay, this is something that I'm doing a lot, I'm going to need a project for it. Now, I'm going to go into Claude here in just a minute, but I'll kind of tell you that, like, when I'm working with standards and that sort of thing, a lot of times ChatGPT is pretty good at that. When I'm actually coding, I think Claude is better at that. And if I'm actually working with some writing projects, I think Claude is better or maybe just more like my style. Now, one thing you need to remember is that AI is different for all of us based on how we use it and the memory we have. So I love that. This is already great. It's pulled out my big idea and my standards, which thank you very much. I really love that. And it's added some essential questions. It's given me a revised opening, and it's a small code snippet where they want to fix it. And then we're going to do some practice and that sort of thing. So, I can even go in here and say, hey, will you create a meme or a cartoon? I could ask it to make an assignment, animation. Like these are a lot of things I could ask it to do. And these are slide suggestions. So it actually says, hey, do you want to draft the slide deck? So draft the slide deck outline for me to put into Gamma. And remember that Gamma uses 3 lines between every slide. Now, I did plan on going into Gamma today. If there's anybody in the chat, I think we have a few people on the stream who want me to demonstrate Gamma and how I do that. But Gamma is an AI slide tool, which is fantastic. So a lot of times when I'm creating slides, I will have ChatGPT generate with the 3 lines in the middle, the Gamma slides that I want. That'll let me just go paste it into Gamma, and then Gamma will draft the slides. And then I'm able to just create a couple slides and add it to the beginning for formative. So if you've joined us late, the big thing that I'm teaching here is how I use AI to help me adjust my lesson plans based on formative assessment data. So in this case, my students have been getting confused about the comparison operator of equal equal versus the assignment operator with one equals. And I know that sounds really confusing for those of you who aren't coders. So I need a little bit of a review, and we're going to be out Monday and Tuesday. And so I want my students to really know what they're doing when we come back. So I'm drafting this review, and I've got this lovely little thing here, and then a quick quiz game that I could throw into something else and do that. So I could create a matching juice mind quiz set. I could do all kinds of other stuff. So this is what we've done in ChatGPT, and I now have a lovely project. Now, typically lesson plan updates, I would rename this and I would call this September 3rd lesson plan update so that I know which one. So if I come back, I'm actually going to come back to this tomorrow because I need to create these slides and I need to add this formative assessment. So to me, this is where AI really shines, not in like creating stuff for me, but in helping me pivot when I realize there's a knowledge gap, and it saves me the time of updating those lesson plans in chalk and all of that idea creation. You can see I've given it 18 files, including files on how I like to teach the class. If you really have some research you want to do, you can also do that as well. Okay, so now let's go to Claude. Okay. So I actually really like that prompt that we just did. And I do want to mention this. So Claude from Anthropic just had a really, really big court case. And it was a problem. And so I think that a lot of lawyers have gotten involved. And it's saying, will you let the use of our chats and coding sessions train and improve models? And I can change it anytime. Well, I'm going to want to dig into this. So right now I'm going to turn it off, and I may come back and turn it on later because I don't know if it'll let me report problems if I turn it off, but you do have to accept that. Okay, so you can see that you can make projects in Claude. Now, I feel like that I have already created these lovely instructions here for in my previous data here. So I'm actually going to go in here and copy my instructions out. Come on. Here we go. Open. There we go. I'm going to copy these instructions. Okay. And then I'm going to come in Claude, and I'm getting ready to make a new project. New project in Claude. Now, what I have been doing lately is I have been going side by side with Claude, ChatGPT Pro, um, Perplexity a lot of times, and sometimes Google Notebook LM. And you could say, Vicki, why do you go side by side? Well, the models are changing so rapidly. I'm really trying to understand what works best for which task. So I'm going to call this AP Computer Science Principles. Okay, so I'm going to paste this in, but And I also, okay. And then I'm going to also put, it's going to support me. And I'm going to ask because Claude is so good. I'm going to put in the appropriate place. And I'm going to say, suggest activities that can be done in Claude code to help improve my teaching with students and give me step by step instructions. Now, the thing that I don't really care about is that you're actually putting the instructions before you put in the data. And here also, I can add all those files. I have had trouble sometimes getting stuff to go up into Claude because a lot of times they kind of throttle me back a little bit, and many times it'll kind of pull me back. And yeah, John has asked for some questions, and we're going into Claude, and then we're going to go to Google Notebook LM. Um, and this is our first deep dive at 5. It'd be great if somebody asked a question on your platform so that we could see, do the questions come through and all that sort of thing. That would be really nice if you're there. Okay, so I am going to pull this information across now, and it's all my documents. So I'm going to start with just a few documents, dragging them over. Now, there's a difference. If you drag it here, it's just going to hold to one chat. If you drag it over here into files, then it's going to be for the project itself. Okay, so I really want it to go over here. Okay, now there are two models. There's Claude Opus 4.1 and there's Claude Sonnet 4. I very, very often hit my limit with Claude Opus 4. I just do. Okay, so I'm going to try to break this and see if it tells me I've added too many things. And I'm going to do the exact same thing. So this is one thing that I really like to do, compare them side by side. I do go into my school Gemini. I could do a gem, but in my opinion, the gems are a lot like the GPTs on Chat GPT. So projects really take it to a different level. Okay, so my PDF upload failed. So I probably uploaded either something too big or too many or whatever. So it takes me a lot longer to train Claude just because like I can't upload as much as fast. And I don't know why that is, but oh, there go a bunch of them. A bunch of them did. So I'm only using 17% of my project capacity. I've got a lot more training documents that I could put in there. Let me see if I can get a few more so I can get. Now, the training documents are just kind of what helps us, have more information. So I'm going to go, and I really should have added those instructions. I typed it in the purpose. So that was probably a mistake. I should have just typed a purpose. And again, I'm going to say, um, I'm going to add a step here. And then I'm going to say step 7, Claude code. When possible, generate step by step instructions using Claude Code, the free version for my students to learn concepts. Okay. So you saw me make a mistake. Hey, live at 5. That's where we go. All the stuff that gets cleaned up. Okay. So now I'm going to do just like I did before, and I'm going to work to revise my lesson plan. So let me go back into ChatGPT and grab that prompt I put up at the top, and I'm going to just grab it. This is what I do. Paste this in. I'm going to see if I can get it to go with Claude Opus 4.1. I'm going to try. Here we go. So let's see what kind of results that I will get. And like I said, I'm still not totally settled. I know there are a lot of people who really like the GPT-5 model from ChatGPT, but honestly, a lot of, besides the fact that it's less, GPT-5 is less of a sycophant, like less of a, for lack of a better word, to suck up. um, I haven't really seen that much of a difference between 4 and 5, although there may be. Um, we'll see. I think I've kind of seen a little bit of instability, but you know what? This is the thing you have to remember. Everybody's AI is different. It's because we all use it differently. We all have different memory in there. We all have different sets of instructions. So I never discount or dismiss anybody else's experience because they may be using it differently than I am. So I have to respect others, and that's kind of part of what we do. So I really like that it did some searches and it pulled some stuff out and it showed me. So this whole quote thinking transparency, I do wish that they didn't use the word thinking because AI doesn't think, it processes. And they keep trying to anthropomorphize AI, but that's a whole other topic. And then it showed me what it found about that. And it says, okay, here's what I need to clarify. And let me see how I clarified it here. Do, do, do. Okay, so it actually jumped in and started telling me stuff with ChatGPT. Claude is sitting here asking more questions, which is great, but it makes it a lot easier to run out of Claude's space. So I want the opening review activity. I want a GimKit vocabulary set, do it in CSV, and also Claude code instructions to practice understanding that I can paste in as a Google Classroom assignment. Let's do that. Okay, let's see what it can do. Now, it's not as good with slides as ChatGPT. So it's got an opening activity, the $1,000,000 bug. Oh, I like that name. Why won't this work? Okay, and discuss. I'm trying to look at what they're doing here. Um, it's giving some definitions. Okay, so this is the CSV that it wants for Claude for GimKit. And then it's kind of giving me some other stuff. So this is obviously a bit nerdier. Now, one thing for those of you who haven't used Claude, it is different. And so if you don't do computer science, don't let it scare you. Um, you can see that it's written some Python for me. It's written some code for me, but then it's got the vocabulary set here that I can click and go to later. And then it's writing my lesson plan for me. It's creating my lesson plan. Okay. So it's giving me more information. I really feel like it's like vomiting text here and giving me more than I really wanted. And that's kind of a pet peeve. So I'm going to have to go back and go and change the instructions. And it's giving me some suggestions. Okay. So over here is what's called the canvas. The canvas is a document. So see, here's the GimKit canvas. I can copy it or I can download it as text. And then here's this. I can copy it, paste it into something, or I can download it as a PDF or Markdown. If I have something I really like, I can copy it to the project for permanently. Okay. So then they've given me this activity, and Claude is really a powerful coder. So I'm going to play with this activity, see what I think. But they just had a big vibe coding vibe hacking, they called it, where Claude was used to basically turn itself into a big hacking farm. So Claude is very powerful with coding, but you do want to be aware that some people use it not in good ways. So it gives me my implementation suggestions. So I think that what I've got to do after we finish live streaming is I'm going to go back and try to make sure it really, really knows exactly what I want it to do. And before it gives me a bunch, because I don't really want to waste all those GPUs or that sort of thing. So we've talked about, I would say right now, in terms of some of those ideas that ChatGPT was good, in terms of these coding activities, that Claude is good. And so then what I do with my knowledge is that I will go through both, have them side by side, and pull out the best pieces. So again, for those of you just joining us, we're doing our deep dive at 5, and I'm talking about how I take the formative data from today, which was that my students weren't understanding comparative operators versus just the equal sign. So the double equals versus the equals and how that works. And I'm working to redraft my lesson plan for September 3rd to open reviewing that particular piece of content and to show the students what it means to use like the double equals you can see here versus the single equals. Okay. So you don't have to understand Python to kind of know what I'm doing. Now, the other thing that I love is Google Notebook LM. Um, So it works pretty much the same way in terms of dragging information in. It is very different though. So I've already created AP Computer Science principles here. I have quite a bit more content that I want to add. So I'm going to upload some more, just some more sources I have. Okay. And some weren't uploaded. It didn't like some of my formats, but I'm just uploading a ton of content here. That's all of my content. Now, the thing that I love about Google Notebook LM is, let's say I needed a review for my semester exam. And this is the one I'm not sharing with students. I do make a Notebook LM, I do share with students. So this exam right here, I can check it, and then I can go over here and go to report and say study guide. And it will make a study guide for me. And it says I have two sources. So I must have something else checked. I think I do, but it's a practice exam. That won't hurt too much. So is generating that. I can do a mind map where it's going to mind map all of this content. I have double uploaded something, and I don't know what that does to the data, but I am going to go in, and anything that I don't need in there, I'll go probably delete later. I can do audio overview and video overview. I don't think that the thing will come in for you to be able to hear it. I don't think it'll come across. But let me show you what I do. This is what I teach my students. So if we're struggling with a particular content, I teach them to load this right here, this AP CSP course and exam description, and then click audio overview and click customize, and then say, um, my students are struggling with understanding the difference between an assignment equals equal mark and a comparison equals double equal mark. I want a short audio file helping students understand this, and I want it to mention the APCSP standard it is related to. Also, we are having a great football season. So make sure the examples are football. I actually teach this prompt to my students, and so that they can know how to better generate audio files, and then they'll study and listen to the audio files as they come to school. So the piece is exactly, what are you struggling to learn? What do you like? I like football, or I like knitting, or I like whatever. And then how do you want me to review it? So it will generate that audio overview. Remember that whatever you have checked over here is the content used for that particular activity. So I can also chat with it. Let me close that and say, my students are having trouble with, oh, let me just, you know what? I'll test it this way. Let me go in here and copy my situation, and I'm going to change it a little bit and get rid of the fact and just say I need to review conditionals. Okay. Let's see what it'll do for me. Um, so many things are being added to Google Notebook LM. My students say it is by far the best tool for studying. And it really is. And any of these things that I create, the study guides and all the other stuff. So you can see that we've created a study guide for my exam. And so right now this is working and processing and going through all of this. But I could go over here and look at this study guide. Okay. I could give that to kids for study guides and that sort of thing. Now, the thing that I love about the chats is you can see the assignment operator is used to get a variable, a new value. Okay, so when I click one right here, it actually opens up the standard and the information there. Okay. And then I've got two other sources of information and three. Okay. I've got glossary of key terms. That's also from three. I've got source four. Okay. And it will pop up and I'll see it, but it also has the information that I'm teaching relating to some of this. Okay. I'm not sure I totally agree with that, but he's talking about like syntax and all of these other things. Okay. So it's really what I think Google Notebook LM is really good for is when you have a specific thing you want to review and you're struggling. So my students are loading um slides that their teachers give them and then going back and asking it to create audio overviews for that particular content in the way that I teach them this prompt. And then Google Notebook LM is now on your phone. So they'll listen to it on the way to school and then we can discuss it in class. And a lot of people are using this for, like I've done, um, we enabled it for the school now that it's come to schools, but you can see that we were working on revising our handbook and calendar and stuff. And so I'm able to chat and say, hey, what's our dress code for middle school student girls? And it'll pull it up and give me the page number. So this is how a lot of administrators are using it right now. They're basically making an administrator Google Notebook LM, which is really, really cool. So, John, I don't know what has gone on in the background, but I have turboed through. How long has it taken us? 36 minutes to get through our deep dive, and we'll see how it'll do. I guess we don't have any questions today. I'll have to look back and see if it was helpful at all. So, if it was helpful today to look in how I'm using AI tools, if you missed the earlier stream right now, they're going to be saved. We went through ChatGPT and Claude and how I make projects there, and then Google Notebook LM and how I create a notebook there. And I've tried to compare and contrast how I use each of the different tools. So thanks for coming. We have scheduled another one for next week. Let us know in the chat what you want us to cover. I have a lot of things I can kind of demo. And John, if you don't have any reason for us to keep going, I think that we are done with our deep dive. It's been a long day and I'm ready for dinner. John, are we ready?